much for coming on the show today. I really appreciate your time. Thank
My
you.
pleasure. Thank you guys for bringing me on.
No, thank you. I also know that you dibble dabble in your CBD.
Have you got me a present?
I did, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Unfortunately, it isn't the oils at the minute, which would more or less assist in your recovery, but it is from a local business called the Butter Hut. And they basically is Plymouth's first CBD dispensary store.
Nice.
Can go wrong with a lolly. And basically they supply oils and everything CBD that you may need, and education on it as well. So that's locally sourced from Plymouth.
Oh, wow. Thank you. I'll check that place out. Thank you so much.
You're more than welcome. Would you like to introduce yourself to our viewers?
Yeah. The short version is, my name is Mark Ormrod. I am a proud born and bred Janner. I'm a former Royal Marines commando, and I was injured in Afghanistan back on Christmas Eve 2007, making me the UK's first triple amputee from the conflict.
That's correct. I've seen, because you were the UK's first triple amputee, that you actually started your recovery in America with someone called Cameron Clapp.
So
sorry, go on.
I started it in the UK.
Okay.
After I was injured, I spent 6 weeks recovering in hospital, a week in intensive care, 5 weeks on the burns and plastics ward, and then moved to a place called Headley Court to do my rehabilitation, where I was eventually going to be issued with my prosthetics. But the problem that I faced was that because I was the UK's first triple amputee since I think the First World War, nobody really had any experience in dealing with me, and it was all relatively new to everybody. So, you know, a process that was already going to be hard was made that much harder.
Yeah.
And when I was in hospital, I already knew that I was told about prosthetics and what I could expect and what I was going to be issued with. So I started researching to see if there's anyone else in the world with this kind of injury that was out there, independent, you know, living their life and just, you know, being quote unquote successful, whatever that means. And I found a guy who had been run over by a train when he was 15 in California. He was a triple amputee, both above the knee like I am, his arm almost to his shoulder. And this guy was living. You know, he was a Californian, very laid back guy, but he was doing triathlons, surfing in the ocean, driving cars, doing all these things that I wanted to do straight from the beginning. Yeah. But as I went into rehab and realised how hard it was going to be, was really struggling with. So it was actually the 9th of June 2009. I went AWOL from the military. Just got up one morning after organising it with the Americans, got on a plane, flew out to America to meet this triple amputee Cameron and his team. And they just put me through an intensive 3-week boot camp where they showed me. They had a lot of experience in this because Cameron, I think at that point, had been a triple amputee for maybe 6 years. Okay. So
he's overcome a lot in mindset-wise in that time.
Right. And they had succeeded at a lot of stuff, but also failed at a lot of stuff. So I basically condensed 6 years of what they'd learned into 3 weeks. Wow. And it was rough. Yeah, it hurt a lot. I was always in, because I was still relatively new in the healing process, and dealing with all that. So it was physically painful. It was mentally painful. It was emotionally painful. But I knew that if I just stuck with that and pushed myself through it, then it would benefit me long term. So it was what I called short-term pain for long-term gain. And that 9th of June 2009, that was when I left the wheelchair behind completely. So I was injured Christmas Eve 2007. About 18 months later, after meeting these guys, ditched the wheelchair and didn't need it.
Yeah, good for you, because in your documentary you mentioned that you never really wanted that to be an option, and that's why going there to meet someone such as Cameron in that position was such a vital part of having your mindset in which you do now.
Absolutely.
Do you think that without enduring that pain that you went through in these intense 3 weeks that you would be where you are today?
It wasn't so much the pain, and because that's not something that I was unfamiliar with, having a background in the Royal Marines and everything. It was the knowledge and the expertise. If I didn't get exposed to that, then I don't know what my life would look like right now.
Yeah.
I think it would be, when I say similar, I mean I would push myself every day to be independent, but it would not be anywhere near as manageable and as enjoyable as it is now.
Yeah, absolutely. When you met people like Cameron in that institution and a community as such, did it feel like? Was it the first time that you've seen people in that position have the mindset that they do have, and then you thought, do you know what, I can do this? Like, this support is all I need, and I've got this.
Absolutely. And I mean this with complete respect, but when I was going through rehab, it very much felt like you were wrapped in cotton wool.
Right.
You know, most of my rehab was done indoors. No one wanted you to go outside in case you fell over, if it was windy or raining and you slipped. But when I went to America, you know, one of the things they said to me, what stuck to, you know, in my head still to this day, was that the world will not adapt to you, you have to adapt to the world. And instantly they were taking us off, you know, to the mall to go out and eat. We were getting taught to drive vehicles to, you know, wherever, the store or whatever that you want to do, and just living day-to-day stuff rather than have a structured routine of, right, we need to walk 100 steps today. It was, right, let's just go to the mall, let's go to the cinema, let's go and do this, that, let's go to the park, you know, do whatever, and just living. And that opened my mind, and it opened my world, and all those people around me that had been through it before, who were helping me and mentoring me, encouraging me, was massive. It was so powerful to have people that had been there before to support me and get me through it, and pour their knowledge and their experience and their wisdom into me to help me become more independent.
Wow, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. So your book, Man Down, came out in 2009. Do you have any other book opportunities that you're going to bring us out? And if you were to write a book now, what would you call it 12 years later?
Funny you should say that, because I've been struggling for the last 2 years to put a deal together. Okay. But we're writing the second book. We've got all the treatment together. It's just that in that world, you know, I've got a ghostwriter. They don't want to commit to doing 6 weeks intense writing until they got the contract. And we've been, during this pandemic, going backwards and forwards, and everyone's very reserved about what they want to do at the minute. But we have got it. We've got the skeleton of it done, and I'm ready to go. My ghostwriter's ready to go. In terms of what we were going to call it, so the first one's Man Down. Okay, yeah. We were going to call it Man Up, the second one.
Nice, good contrast.
Right. And the whole thing is, the first one is very much military, you know, sweary, big, sweaty alpha males doing that, you know, fighting in war. But the new one is more about the civilian side of things, going to America, the uprising, the, you know, fighting back, and more of the inspirational, motivational kind of book. But I think we are going to call it Drum roll. Undefeated. 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 That's the working title with it so far. So, and I'm pushing daily, trying to get these deals together, but we'll get there.
Absolutely, you'll get there. I like that. One of the fascinating things that I've been following you, that I've learned since following you, is your Jiu Jitsu non-profit charity that you have going on called Reorg. Right. Now, if I'm not mistaken, you do that with a gentleman called Samuel Sheriff. Correct. So, what's your relationship like with him, and how did you all start that? Because I watched your documentary, and you were so young in it, and you were on your way to your first jiu-jitsu session on a Tuesday. Like, it's Tuesday afternoon, I'm on my way to my first jiu-jitsu session, let's see what this guy can do for me. From that then to now is extraordinary. So how do you do it, plain and simply? And how has that journey been for you?
So I've got a background in martial arts. You know, from about the age of 12 or 13, I started training and competing in full contact kickboxing, in Muay Thai, and then when I was in the Marines, I boxed at heavyweight. And it was a big part of my life, and it was one of the things I really struggled with when I was injured. You know, thinking that martial arts were out of my life. And it wasn't all to do with being fit, fast, strong, and competing. I loved the whole spiritual side of it, you know, the meditating, focusing, honor, respect, integrity, that kind of stuff. And I had been offered by a few people over the years since being injured the opportunity to go and train in different disciplines, but I knew from my background that I would never be able to advance through the grading system based on hard work. It would have been more sympathy, because I don't have legs, so I can't kick. In certain things where they do, you know, the kata and the movements, I can't do them. So I turned a lot of it down, and then I met Sam in the sergeant's mess round the corner in Stonehouse Barracks, and he was at the time a colour sergeant, physical training instructor. He was the head of Royal Marines Unarmed Combat. He was a purple belt in Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. He had started the Royal Marines Brazilian Jiu Jitsu Association and took it from nothing to being the most popular sport within the Royal Marines.
Wow.
And he said, you know, do you want to come down and train with us? And they had converted a squash court on camp into what we call a combat room. And initially I just humoured him, because I had done Japanese Jiu-Jitsu when I was a kid, and it's a lot of throw-in and roll-in and wrist locks and things. So again, I thought, I can't do this. But he's a Royal Marine as well. He's a physical training instructor, head of unarmed combat. I'll humour him. So on that Tuesday, we went down. We started training, and straight away, I said to him, I said, what are we doing? You know, why are we rolling around on the floor together? This isn't Jiu-Jitsu. He said, no, this is Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. You've done Japanese Jiu-Jitsu. This is grappling and ground fighting. So straight away I thought, well, I'm already on the ground because I don't have my legs on. I'm sat down. Perfect. I'm in the perfect starting position. I don't have to be stood up or anything like that. And then he started showing me some techniques. And with anything, there's a certain way you should or shouldn't do it. But with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, you can adapt to everything. And it just opened my mind. I thought, I can do this. After that hour, I was wiped out, like exhausted. And that was a feeling that I was longing for, that I thought I'd lost forever. And I thought, well, I can do this based on hard work, discipline, learning, and I can progress. It's going to be slightly different, obviously. I'm not going to be able to do everything, but the things I can do, I can adapt to work for me. And that was about 4 years ago. And we've been doing it ever since. I'm up to blue belt now, two-stripe blue belt.
Congrats on your blue belt.
Thank you.
That's amazing.
And I just enjoy the journey. I love it. And, you know, I'm trying all the time to bring people into it and explain to them. And it's hard to do until they experience it, but I'm trying to explain to them why it's such a powerful sport. And what Real do, they use it. It was originally formed to, first of all, it was just for Royal Marines who had been physically or psychologically wounded as a result of their service. And it very quickly gained popularity and went tri-service, so Army, Navy, Air Force, Royal Marines. Then we went out to the emergency services, so ambulance, police, fire brigade, coast guard, all of those guys. And now Reorg has affiliate academies all over the world.
Wow.
You know, I was just speaking to guys yesterday who are affiliated with Reorg in New Zealand.
Wow.
We're in Australia, America, all over the place. And it's changing, and it may sound dramatic, but saving people's lives.
Absolutely, that's insane. That just proves how powerful that is. The fact that it started something just to get people in your position like up and back into their sport again and feeling good, and that sport has just taken over the world for many people that feels that way.
And do you know what I always say to people, particularly the ones, well, it doesn't matter if you're physically injured or mentally scarred. I always say to them, and in a kind of joking way, all those things you worry about, you know, past trauma, paying the bills, you know, relationship break, whatever you're going through, when you're doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and someone is trying to choke you out or get you into some really painful kind of lot, you can't think about anything else. All you can think about is surviving. So for that time that you're on the mat, all your other worries don't exist. Wow. All you're doing is learning to survive and advance yourself as
sharpening your mind.
Exactly. It's amazing.
There's actually no better feeling than that, is there? You know, when you can like literally just focus on that one thing for 1 minute. It's actually quite rare these days. I find it quite hard.
No phone. No, you just go in the combat room, you close the door, you throw your phones in the corner. It's you and your team training, learning, drilling, sparring for that hour. Everything else doesn't matter.
Yeah. I like that. So you are the founder of No Limits, and is that a hashtag community that you created on Instagram from your documentary, or could you explain a little bit more about that?
Yeah, it was a hashtag that I created. Originally, it was spelled NOLIMBITS, so no limits, like limb with a silent B.
Yeah, okay.
But loads of people kept saying no limits, and I'm like, what does that mean? That doesn't make any sense at all. And so I eventually dropped the B off it and just had it as no limits. But it was a hashtag originally as a kind of motivational, inspirational thing. And then I've created a subscription-based membership site off of Facebook. I've got my own little private group of guys, like a coaching group on there. We turned it into a bit of a small clothing brand. Nice. So, nothing massive. It's more of a kind of, I'm trying to promote a mindset, to people to not limit themselves and to not make excuses or to talk themselves out of doing things. We can do so much in the day and age we live in right now. I run this from my mobile phone. You can run a business from a mobile phone. You can do anything. Do you know what I mean? So it's just trying to change people's mindsets. And
I've seen because I was looking at the hashtags, and obviously from that you can look at people's posts and things, can't you? So I was looking at all of their posts, and it certainly does seem to motivate people, and people are up for, I'm going to do this today and hashtag no limits and put that on there, showing that I was undefeated today. And that's definitely the vibe that I'm getting from the thing that you've created from that.
And it's created a community, right? And this is a beautiful thing about it, is that community are all people of a similar mindset who want to overcome challenges and do more. And they're in this little group together. So they're all bouncing off each other and encouraging each other and supporting each other. So in that way, it's very much like the Jiu Jitsu community. That's what the social aspect of Jiu Jitsu is like. And I've just tried to recreate that a little bit for other people.
Absolutely, thank you. So could you talk to me a little bit more about your movie that's coming out, if you can?
I can.
Thank you. Yes, go ahead, please.
So it's based on my life. It's going to cover obviously the incident, not in any great detail because that's just a small part of the story. And then a lot of it's going to focus on that climb back, through rehab and going to America and being mentored and, proving the doctor wrong who said that I'd be in a wheelchair for life. And I want to really make it inspiring and motivating. If you'd have asked me 10 years ago, if someone said, right, we're going to make a film about you, I would have said, right, I want guns, bombs, bullets, I want to be killing people and jumping at helicopters. But now I'm just I want to make something that appeals to everybody. Men, women, children, people that have been through adversity, people that just want to watch something motivational, and that's going to make a difference. I'm fortunate that I'm going to be an associate producer on this. So I get to be heavily involved day by day and steer it in the kind of direction that I want it to go. Right. And I really want people to just leave the movies, the cinema, and just jump online and be like, oh my God, you need to see this film, it's so uplifting. Yeah. And, spread it through word of mouth and hopefully just, inject some positivity into some people's lives.
Do you feel like bringing out the movie is a way to bring across the message in a different way that has been explained before and in a more fulfilling way, would you say, than what has been expressed before, maybe through interviews or things like that? Do you hope that the movie can express it in a different way?
Yeah, and
on your side.
Absolutely, because what I think is going to be powerful about it is that everyone's going to be able to relate to it. Yeah. Not everyone can relate to getting 3 limbs blown off, but look at the last 18 months. Everyone can relate to facing adversity and challenges and trying to overcome them and being in a bad place and trying to drag yourself out of it. And that's exactly what I want to get over in the movie. Everyone's been through this pandemic and all the things before it. So I don't think there's a person on the planet that can say they haven't had to face some sort of challenge in their life. And that's really how I want to mold this movie, so everyone can get it and relate to it and vibe with it.
Yeah, for sure. I look forward to seeing it. When do you think that we'll be seeing it out?
Oh, good question. We were supposed to start it in February last year, and obviously March the pandemic hit, so everything got put on ice. But we're in the script writing process. I've just come from a script writing meeting this morning. Every Friday I have one, and it's moving quickly. Brilliant. So I think realistically 13, 14 months from now it'll be in the cinema. Perfect. Fingers crossed. We'll see.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah,
we'll see.
See.
Could you explain to me a little bit more about your journey with CBD and in terms of your recovery and obviously like muscles and things like that? How do you use it and how does it benefit you?
So I've always, back when I started martial arts in 12, 13, I've always kind of been into looking after myself and, you know, protein powders and eating right and all this kind of stuff. But when I got injured, I kind of had to change everything. You know, I used to be like 6'2" and 16 stone. I'll eat everything. You know, I'll take like 4,000 or 5,000 calories a day, work out a lot. And when I was injured, I had to change that because I couldn't burn off those calories as much. So it was more high protein, drop the carbs a little bit and the fats. And I tweaked it over the years. And then my supplementation changed. It became less about trying to build big muscles that look great on the beach and more about being healthy and increasing my wellness long term. And so I think like a lot of people, when I heard about CBD, I thought, oh, I'm not doing that. I'm not walking around high all day. Do you know what I mean? I didn't understand it. And I did some research into it. And a friend of mine actually owns a company now and he's educated me a lot more about it. And I started taking it and I was quite cautious because again, I just thought I was going to be like tripping out and everything when I was taking it. So I took it at home. But what was bizarre was I'd wake up in the morning and every morning and every evening I've got like a little stretching routine I go through to keep my hips and everything flexible. Right. And there would be certain things I did where, you know, you go pop, pop, pop and your back or your arm would you know, click and you just become used to it. And when I started taking it, I noticed it was less frequent. Wow. And I just started noticing little things, you know what I mean, that made me feel better and more vibrant, if you like, and I just kind of, if you like, fell in love with it, and it became just part of my routine. And then I started looking more into stuff, and I am not saying I'm not a vegetarian or anything like that, but then I started researching into all of that and kind of ate more of a plant-based diet. And for me, it takes me, because I'm a double above knee amputee, anywhere between 300 and 500% more energy to do anything than anyone else. Wow. So diet was massive. I had to make sure that I was hydrating right. You know, I don't really drink. I had like two or three beers in a weekend at a fundraiser, but I haven't drank for like 2 or 3 years. Wow. And I eat right and I supplement right because I want to live as long as I can and be as mobile and independent as possible for as long as I can. Yeah. And if you don't get that right, then I'm just going to be tired all the time and out of energy. And supplements are what they say, supplements. They are a supplement to a good diet, a good exercise routine, a good rest and recovery routine. And the CBD just is that icing on the cake for me that just gives me that vitality that I need just to crack on. That's
refreshing to hear, actually, for sure. What is your diet like every day? Do you still have to stick to a strict diet every day in order to regain your strength and keep it up? Or is it kind of just as and when, burger when you like it?
I think now for me, it's just eating and living well is just normal. Yeah. You know, if like when I was competing back in the day, you would very much build it, structure it, tweak it, test it. But now I think because of the years of doing that, just eating and living healthy is the norm for me. You know, you go into my kitchen and as snacks there's nuts and raisins instead of crisps and chocolate. You know, and I like to eat, you know, there's some good restaurants around here that do healthy food now, and like I said, it's very high protein, you know, more protein than carbs, and I get the fats and the balance right. But I enjoy eating healthy, do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Makes you feel good, doesn't it?
Last weekend, so we have a thing in my house, it's either Fat Boy Friday or Sumo Saturday, right?
Fat Boy Friday.
Or Sumo Saturday. So at the minute, because I'm training for a bike ride, on Sunday mornings, I'll do Sumo Saturday and carb up on a Saturday night. Okay. And I had this bowl of ice cream the other week. And I woke up in the morning and I felt like I had a hangover because I'm not used to sugar. Wow. And I was just so sluggish the next day trying to ride my bike. And it was horrible. And it just reminded me why I live the way I live now. You know, I just need to be fit and vibrant and out there.
It's actually like, when you eat all of these things, yeah, it temporarily feels good, but actually sometimes it's not even worth it. No. It's like worth the longevity of feeling good, and rather than having that little ice cream, you can have an ice cream every now and then.
All right, that's why Fat Boy Friday. That's what Fat Boy Friday and Sumo Saturday are.
Yeah, but, absolutely.
And someone said it to me once. So I used to eat as much as I could and train a lot. And someone put it in a different context for me. They said, you know, after you eat like a big Christmas dinner or a big roast, you're not full of energy. The first thing you want to do is sleep and have a nap. That's because your body's wasting or spending so much energy digesting it that you haven't got the energy to do anything else. And that shifted my mindset. I was like, oh, okay, you're right. And I started experimenting, little and often, eat 6 times a day, little bits, keep burning it off, and
I've heard about that, actually.
Intermittent fasting every once in a while, and I just play around with it all. But I know my body now to know what's going to work and what doesn't.
It's what suits you, isn't it? I think a lot of people can give you dietary advice on what works for them, but I think you do have to test and change for yourself, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Moving along to your motivational speaks, how long have you been doing them for, and what's next for them?
So I've been doing them for about 9 years now. Wow. And it's great, 1 minute you could be in a school. I've been in a school here in Plymouth that I've only got 6 kids in it. It's not a mainstream school, so I'd sat in there and talked to them and hung out and had some fun. And then you're on a stage with 1,000 neurosurgeons in an amphitheatre, telling them your story, the gruesome grown-up version of it. And it's taken me all over the world. And it's been great. I've really enjoyed that journey. It isn't traumatic. I actually kind of find it quite cathartic to stand on there and tell the story. I'm actually a little bit bored of it because I've told it so many times. But when you get to the end of it and you hear the feedback and people, weeks later are emailing you and DMing you saying how much of a positive impact it had on their life, then that's really fulfilling. And I'm kind of at a stage now where, because I've told that story so many times, I want to mold it a little bit into more digestible lessons that people can take away about mindset and resilience and overcoming adversity, where they don't just listen to a story, they listen to a story and they take away things that they can implement into their own life. Something a bit more meaningful. What
surprises you when people ask you questions and things at the end? Do people sometimes surprise you with their outcomes?
It depends who I'm speaking to. So that school I was talking about, when I finished that, this kid said to me, bearing in mind I've just talked to him about being a soldier and being injured in Afghanistan, his first question was, have you ever zip corded off the roof of a building, stolen a tank and killed a zombie? Oh. And I was like, were you listening to what I was saying for the last 40 minutes? But
Rangers go.
I know, it was hilarious. I've never forgotten that. But, generally, the questions I get are generally the same. The guy that told me I'd never walk again, I've ever seen him since then. What's next? What was the hardest part? What was the best part? What lessons did you take from your journey and that kind of stuff? So, and I always, despite really saying the same thing over and over again, I always kind of, when people ask questions, I learn something new myself and pick something new out of it, which is great for me, and it helps me develop it and advance it.
Absolutely. So have you been doing them regionally as well has it been obviously across the UK and things?
Across the world. I've been all over the America, Portugal, Germany, France, the UK, everywhere.
What has been your favourite motivational speech experience? In what country would you say? An audience?
I think Singapore.
Yeah?
Yeah, there was a group out there of ex-military people that were businessmen, and they invited me out there, and that's just kind of my people, and I was around all these veterans who are now successful business owners, and I'd never been to Singapore before. So, yeah, that was great.
Brilliant, thank you. I would like for you to share to our viewers about your experience with Mike Tyson, if you wouldn't mind.
Oh my God, that was a long time ago. So when we were going through rehab at Headley Court, there were lots of great events they put on. We were always going into London to film premieres, and celebrities were always coming in to do morale visits. And Mike Tyson was in town one day, and he came to visit us and give a morale visit. And I had my prosthetic arm on at the time, which has a hook for a hand. And we were getting gloves and bits and pieces signed. And I cringe a little bit thinking about it now, but I just this opportunity. And when I got to my glove signed, I said, "Hey Mike, here's a proper right hook," and kind of just touched my hook on his face. I didn't hit him hard because he'd probably kill me, but just tapped him on the chin with the hook. He laughed, and then I kind of nervously ran away in case he did take offence.
Absolutely.
But the guy's he's deep. I know people have a certain image of him. He's
Yeah.
a really nice, humble, down-to-earth, and actually quite a deep person.
Yeah, so he does his own podcast as well, actually, called
Oh.
Hotbox.
I've heard of it, yeah.
You'd really enjoy them. They're really cool. And like you said, they definitely devour that image of him being, you know, so much of a tough guy. He's actually really interesting and like really soft, and he's got so much to say. And his podcasts are brilliant. You'd really enjoy them.
I'll check that out. Thank you.
Yeah, please do. They're really cool. What is next for yourself? And in terms of keeping yourself motivated, how do you do that when you feel bad?
So I'm always setting goals, right? We talked about the movie, the second book.
Sure.
I've got a whole bunch of different things business-wise going on. So I'm always busy, you know, but I've always got a structured plan and a direction that I need to go in. I've got 3 kids too and a wife, so that keeps me busy. I like to train. I'm always doing the fundraising. So I think I'm just going to continue on the path that I'm on, but just level up in each area. You know what I mean? I think business is a big thing I'm concentrating on now. I've done it for well over a decade, but very low key. You know, in the background, investing, creating businesses, pushing them online. I think I'll bring that to the forefront a bit more now that the kids are older and they're a bit more independent, and see how far I can take that. You know, and the beauty of it is with what I want to do is the businesses that I'm creating are all to do with helping people and empowering people. So you're kind of killing 2 birds with 1 stone. You're earning a living and an income, but also bringing something positive into the world.
Brilliant, thank you. Before we take this interview to an end, I would like to ask about your community on Facebook. So you can actually join your community for £3.49 a month.
Correct.
And you get lots of things on there, so like updates and events. Could you explain a little bit more about what you might see on your community page? Yeah,
so it's a private group that is fed off of my main Facebook page, and I created it for people. It was kind of, the idea initially was to have like a coaching group, and it very quickly got to over 200 members, and they all started kind of coaching each other. But what I was trying to offer in that group was stuff that I don't really do outside of it. So I do a lot of live streams in there. I do a lot of coaching in there. I've had a meet up with the guys a couple of weeks ago in Sidmouth. I try and support them in anything that they need help with outside of that. And really, you know, just try and do things in there that, like I said, I don't do outside of them. As it grows, I'm going to do more and more things. That when the movie comes out, I'm going to try and offer unique things like, you know, tickets to the premiere. When the new book comes out, limited edition signed copies just for that little core group that have, you know, very kindly joined it, which has helped me to go off and do the things that I do, because it creates an income stream for me. You know.
For sure.
So, and as it grows, you know, ideas will pop into my head. I'll look at other people's groups, see what they offer, and try and replicate it. But it's all about really adding value and supporting and empowering each other.
Great, that's really cool.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anything that you would like to share to our viewers before we unfortunately take this interview to an end?
No, I think we've covered a lot. You know, I guess, you know, just, if you haven't tried Jiu Jitsu, try that, because it's like life changing. Get yourself around good people, whatever it is you're trying to overcome, whatever it is you're trying to achieve. One of the keys I found for myself is having good people around you that will empower, encourage, and support you. And, you know, the whole no limits thing, just have some faith in yourself. If you're out there and you're trying to do something and you don't quite feel confident that you can achieve what you want to achieve, just have 5 minutes, have a bit of a while with yourself, take a breath, and, you know, believe in yourself a bit more. I just keep coming across so many people that lack confidence when they're phenomenal human beings. They just need someone to tell them that, and then they need to realise it.
Yeah, absolutely. We all know a few of those, absolutely. And I'm sure a lot of people would like to hear that today.
Cool.
Thank you very much for coming on the show, Mark.
No, thank you guys. I appreciate you.
That was brilliant. Thank you so much.
No problem.